Level 1. Childhood in a quiet suburban home. I am 7 years old, growing up in a cozy suburb under my mother's strict control. My father left us a long time ago, leaving me in the caring hands of my biological mother. My grandmother also lives with us, creating an exclusively female environment in our large house. There is virtually no father figure or male guidance in my life, so I am growing up to be a very obedient boy. Mom always decides which shirt I should wear to school every sunny morning. She always makes me a delicious breakfast and packs a lunchbox with healthy fruit. Grandma constantly repeats that I am the main man in this big, beautiful house. While other boys play rough baseball outside, I sit indoors by the window. I have never fought with my peers because Mom says it is extremely dangerous. I am forbidden from riding a bicycle without a helmet and heavy-duty elbow pads. I tell my mother all my secrets right away because she is my best advisor. In our family, it is not customary to argue with adult women about everyday domestic matters. I receive $5 in weekly allowance for perfectly completing my household chores. Mom carefully checks my school grades every evening before I go to sleep. We always do all my homework together at the large wooden kitchen table. I am used to the idea that a woman's opinion is the only correct one in any life situation. Life seems very safe to me and completely protected from all external threats. I don't need to make any decisions because the adults do it for me. I am an absolutely happy child who feels constant overprotection from my loving family. My childhood passes in complete harmony, but without the slightest hint of independence. Level 2. Teenage years and first restrictions. I am 15 years old now, but Mom still controls my every move. The guys in my class play football and go to parties. My curfew starts at 6 in the evening, right after school finishes. Grandma takes my temperature every single time I simply walk inside from the street. They buy my clothes at a department store without considering my own teenage preferences. I have never been on a real date with girls from my school. If I like a girl, Mom immediately finds a mountain of serious flaws in her. She says that modern teenagers are far too reckless to build truly strong relationships. I don't have any typical guy hobbies, like working on old beat-up cars. I don't know how to use power tools because my dad wasn't around to teach me. Instead, I excel at helping my mom grow beautiful flowers in our backyard. My classmates often mock me, calling me a quiet, obedient mama's boy. I'm ashamed to admit that Mom still checks my school backpack every day. Instead of hanging out with friends, my grandma and I bake delicious apple cookies on the weekends. I do see the upsides. My room is always spotlessly clean, without me lifting a finger. Freshly laundered clothes wait for me in the closet every single week. But I am starting to feel that my lack of an independent voice is seriously holding back my growth. I have no idea how to stand up for myself during arguments with my peers. My teenage years are slipping away under the watchful eyes of 2 caring women at home. I am growing up very polite, but completely unequipped for the harsh real world. Level 3. College and complete dependence. I turned 20, and I am studying at a local community college near our house. Mom strictly forbade me from moving into a student dorm in another state. She convinced me that living at home would save us at least $15,000 a year. Every morning, Mom makes me hot cocoa and delicious classic American pancakes. I drive to classes in an old sedan that Mom regularly takes to the auto repair shop for service. All my classmates rent their own apartments and live real adult lives. I return home at exactly 5 o'clock to make it in time for family dinner. If I am even 15 minutes late, Mom starts frantically calling my cell phone. Grandma irons my shirts every day and stacks them in neat, perfectly even piles. It is convenient for me that I don't have to shop for groceries at the local supermarket. I spend my allowance money only on books and small personal odds and ends. However, I feel immense discomfort whenever friends invite me out to late-night parties. Mom always finds 100 convincing reasons why I shouldn't go. I don't know how to handle financial issues or pay utility bills for the house. Raised entirely by women, I turned out to be an extremely soft, sensitive, and anxious guy. I am completely devoid of the competitive spirit that exists in most adult men. If a conflict arises, I simply back down and wait for advice from my mother. My dependence on my mother's approval grows stronger with every passing year. I am beginning to realize that I am incapable of making any important life decision on my own. My adulthood is delayed because the comfort of home keeps me firmly in its grip. Level 4. First job and everyday comfort. I am 25 years old now, working as an accounting clerk at a local firm. My salary is around $4,000 a month after taxes. I give most of my earnings to my mom to run our household. I don't have to worry about a mortgage or renting my own place. Every day after work, a delicious 3-course hot dinner is waiting for me. Mom buys my quality clothing at the mall using my own hard-earned money. She knows my sizes better than I do and picks out only practical clothes. Grandma tells me stories every evening and watches over my health. The perks of this lifestyle are obvious: an absolute absence of any domestic hardships or worries. I save money in my bank account, but I have no clear goal on how to spend it. The downsides are becoming more noticeable. I have zero personal space. Mom can walk into my bedroom at any time without knocking. She rearranges my belongings however she sees fit to maintain ideal order. I don't even know how to cook a basic soup or fry a simple chicken breast. Whenever Mom gets sick, total chaos and domestic paralysis hit our home. I don't know how to talk to women as equals because I am intimidated by them. My coworkers discuss their own families, kids, and independent households. I stay silent during these conversations because I have nothing to share with them. My life feels very comfortable, but completely aimless for the future. I have become totally accustomed to being an obedient son who follows all motherly orders. Level 5. Failed romance with a girl. At 28, I finally built up the courage to ask my coworker Jessica out on a first date. She was a charming girl who worked as a designer in our large office building. After 3 months of secret dating, I decided to introduce her to my mom. I invited Jessica to our house for a traditional Sunday family dinner. Mom greeted her with a stern look and immediately began a full interrogation. She questioned her about her parents' wealth, her religious views, and her cooking skills. Grandma examined her clothing closely and made sharp comments about her overly bright makeup. Jessica felt extremely uncomfortable under such intense psychological pressure from 2 older women. Mom kept emphasizing that her son deserved a much better, more traditional girl. When Jessica tried to express her opinion, Mom cut her off in a very harsh tone. I sat there in silence, not saying a single word in defense of the girl I cared about. I was terrified of standing up to my mother in her own big, cozy home. Right after dinner, Jessica quickly packed up her things and left in silence. She called me that evening and told me that we couldn't see each other anymore. Jessica stated that she was looking for a grown man, not a 30-year-old little mama's boy. Mom said it was for the best because Jessica was far too selfish of a girl. I agreed with Mom, even though everything inside me was twisting with deep pain. That was my only serious attempt at building an independent, romantic relationship. My mother's control destroyed my love before it even had a chance to grow. Once again, I was left alone in my childhood bedroom under strict maternal supervision. Level 6. 30-something crisis and loneliness. I turned 30 years old, and it became a real turning point in my life. I came to realize that most of my school friends already have young kids of their own. They are buying homes with mortgages and traveling the world with their families. I am still living in the exact same bedroom where I grew up, surrounded by childhood toys. My salary has increased, but I continue to hand over a large chunk of it to my mother. She decides what new furniture we need to buy for our living room. I tried signing up for a dating app to meet a new girl, but Mom found out about it and threw a massive scene at home. She claimed that women on those apps were only after my money and a stake in our house. I obediently deleted my account because I didn't want to upset my own mother. Grandma started getting sick more often, and I spent all my free time caregiving. The complete absence of male upbringing left me utterly incapable of taking decisive action in life. I was terrified of change, scared to rent my own apartment, and afraid to live independently. Domestic comfort blinded me. Hot meals and a clean house kept me firmly grounded, but the inner spiritual emptiness inside me kept growing and weighed heavily on my soul. I began to notice that I was starting to talk using my mother's exact phrases when conversing with coworkers. I had no personal hobbies left, other than watching TV shows in the evenings after work. The neighbors look at me with pity whenever they see my mom and me together. I became an adult man by age, but remained a scared little child at heart. My life turned into a closed loop, running endlessly between work and strict maternal control. Level 7, loss of grandmother, and shifting roles. When I turned 32, our grandmother passed away. It was the first major loss in our small, cozy family home. Mom took the loss extremely hard and needed my constant emotional support. I felt that I had to step up and become the primary pillar for my grieving mother. But I had no idea how to be a real man in a complex, stressful situation. I didn't know how to navigate legal matters, inheritance issues, or documentation. Even in her grief, my mom took all the important decisions into her own hands anyway. She began demanding even more of my attention and constant presence. I couldn't stay late at work for even 30 extra minutes. Any attempt to show independence was viewed by my mom as the ultimate betrayal of our family. She frequently reminded me of how much she had sacrificed to raise me. Guilt bound my hands tightly, preventing me from moving forward with my life. The perks of living at home were shrinking, as my mother was losing her energy and strength. I had to learn how to do basic household tasks that my grandmother used to take care of. I bought hundreds of dollars worth of medication at the pharmacy and tracked dosage schedules. Yet Mom continued to make me breakfasts and check if my clothes were laundered properly. She monitored my bank transactions and inspected every single store receipt I brought home. My self-esteem sank to the lowest point it had ever been in my adult life. I realized that I had completely lost the capacity to build my own future family. My destiny was firmly chained to the fate of my lonely, aging mother. Level 8, futile attempts to move out. At 33, I secretly saved up $20,000 to rent a place. I found a wonderful small apartment in a neighboring district of our city. I prepared a speech and made up my mind to tell my mom about my moving plans. When I told her about my plans, she burst into tears and hysterical crying. She accused me of being heartless and abandoning my own mother to fate. Mom clutched her heart and called an ambulance right to our house. The paramedics said it was severe stress and high blood pressure. I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt for causing my mother such suffering. I immediately abandoned the idea of renting the apartment and forfeited the deposit to the realtor. Mom was pleased with my decision and recovered quickly right after that. That was my last and completely failed attempt to gain my long-cherished freedom. I realized that psychological manipulation is the most powerful weapon in my mother's hands. The lack of a father in my childhood stripped me of the ability to take a punch and stand my ground. I don't know how to say a firm, masculine no to the people closest to me in life. My complete lack of a personal voice turned me into a total slave to domestic comfort. I kept commuting to work and returning home to my quiet childhood suburb. They kept buying the same groceries for me and cooking the same familiar meals. My life completely stalled at a teenage stage of development without a shred of progress. I watched my hair turn gray in our bathroom mirror. I had turned into an aging mama's boy who had lost every single opportunity in life. Level 9, total resignation at 34. I turned 34, and I have finally accepted my fate. I no longer make any attempts to meet women or build a relationship. My weekends are spent cleaning the house together with Mom and driving to the supermarket. Mom drafts a detailed shopping list that accounts for prices down to the exact cent. I obediently push the cart and pay the bills with my bank credit card. In the evening, we watch old American comedies together over a hot cup of tea. It is comfortable for me because I don't have to resolve any complex everyday problems. I always have ironed shirts, a warm dinner, and clean bed sheets waiting for me. These perks feel like the only compensation for my wasted personal manhood. But the drawbacks far outweigh them. I have no personal dreams or goals left. I have completely lost my identity, living entirely through the interests of my mother. If Mom says a neighbor is a bad person, I immediately stop greeting them. My mindset is fully shaped by a female perspective on the world and human relationships. I have no idea how to act in high-stakes situations that require real decisiveness. My coworkers no longer invite me out for team lunches or happy hours. They understand that I will always decline because I have to rush straight home. My social isolation has reached its absolute peak over the last few years. I am living my one and only life merely as an extension of my mother's existence. Sadness washes over me every time I see happy families out on the street. I realize that I chose this path of least resistance and domestic comfort myself. Level 10. 35 years and final conclusion. Today I turned 35 years old, marking a major milestone in my adult life. Mom baked my favorite chocolate cake and wished me a happy birthday. She told me that I am the best and most obedient son in our entire state. I looked in the mirror and saw a grown man with the eyes of a terrified child. Living with my mother provided complete domestic comfort and safety from life's problems. I don't need to cook, clean, pay a mortgage, or deal with household emergencies. But the price of this comfort turned out to be devastatingly high for my identity. I lost the chance to love, build my own family, and raise children of my own. The absence of male guidance robbed me of grit, decisiveness, and essential life courage. My mother and grandmother raised an ideal follower, but not an independent adult man. Unbroken control crushed my right to have my own opinions and make personal decisions. Not a single girl was able to pass my mother's strict vetting process in this house. I'm left completely alone with my aging mother in the suburbs. I was terrified of the real world, and the real world simply passed me by. Now I realize that overprotection can be far more toxic than any neglect. True independence demands hardship, but it is the only thing that turns a person into a mature adult. I urge every young guy out there to step out of his domestic comfort zone before it's too late. Do not be afraid to make your own mistakes and build your own separate path. My experience proves that a golden cage remains a cage, no matter how good the food is inside. At 35 years old, I remain a mama's boy with no future of my own.